Welcome to this module on JSP directives. In this module, we will be looking at the various directives which are available, which we can use in a JSP page. In the last module, we had seen about the JSP, introduction to JSP, and we had seen the various scripting elements which go in a JSP. See, in those scripting elements, we had used what, expressions. Yes, when writing an expression, maybe someone wanted to use a date. Oh, how he would do it? Oh, I wanted to keep what is the current date time. So, maybe I might write an expression which says percentage less than equal to, and then new, and then java.util.date. Oh, you can't just say new date. Oh, why? Oh, we don't have an import statement. You will have to write the full name. Oh, we would like to have import statement. How can we put an import statement? This is just HTML. The three scripting elements which you have seen so far. Expression. Oh, that is only for writing expression. It is something which will get included in expressions, and those things will get the scriptlet, they will get included in the underscore JSP service method. Declarations get included in the class. Oh, where do I specify my imports? Oh, there might be some other things I might like to have, because it is all content. What kind of content? When writing a servlet, I could specify a set content type and put it to whatever I want. What kind of content is it? This JSPs have. Okay, JSP need not always have HTML content. It can be plain text, considered as plain text content also. Such things, fine, and many such things which will even control the way the things get translated are specified by using directives. It can be specified by using a specific directive called the page. In all, there are 3 directives in JSP which can be used in. The first one and the most commonly used one is the directive called the page directive. So, let us see how one of the directives, the page, the 3 directives here, one of them is the page directive, we have the include directive, and we have the taglib directive. One by one, let us go through all the 3. The page directive. The page directive mainly controls how the JSP gets done. Most commonly used thing, one of the requirement which I have already mentioned is, oh, I would like certain things to be. Another point was, it is not only that I would like to use, thinking about the import statement, right. So, yes, we would like to import, we will like to be using the classes from various packages. When we want to use the classes from various packages, most common thing is to use import statement, import declarations, right. But since it is a JSP, no, there is no way of writing an import declaration. If you want import declaration to be included, fine, you need to mention a page directive. So, you can use page directive, that is fine, but one thing we understand, as far as anything from java.lang package, we have an automatic import available for all Java pages for any Java file, right. So, we understand that part, right, but there are a few other implicit imports which are always available to us. We do not have to write import for javax.servlet, for javax.servlet.http, javax.servlet.jsp. These 3 packages are always automatically included as an import declaration for any JSP which is generated. So, if you are trying to use classes or interfaces or anything from these 3 packages plus the java.lang package, we do not have to worry about it. But yes, if trying to use anything else other than this, we will have to write an import. Oh, how do I put an import? No, you can't directly put an import statement. We have to use page directive. And how do I put a directive? Or directives are always written as less than percentage at the rate, and then we have the directive name. Here the directive name is page. Okay, fine. So, in our case, if you wanted that import, we will say less than percentage at the rate page, and every directive have a number of attributes. If you want to have import, we have an attribute called import. So, attribute is import equal to, and in quotes, it has to be quoted, single or double quote, fine, you can use either single quote or double quote, and whatever package you would like to have import for, fine. If you have multiple packages, you can separate them by comma, fine. So, comma separated value of the import declaration, fine. So, the packages or whatever import things which you would like to have, fine, that can be specified by using the attribute called import, fine. So, import is just one attribute here, and the other attributes which are part of the page directive. So, let us see what are the attributes which we can have with the page directive, fine. We started with first attribute is import here. Another attribute is the attribute called, a very simple thing, attribute called language. It just specifies that yes, this JSP file right? We have a, because we are writing JSP, this JSP file get ultimately translated into what language, which programming language, and here we have only one option, and that option we understand is nothing but the translation has to be done into Java file. So, JSP is going to be translated to Java by the container. So, yes, we have language equal to, you can put Java, fine. If you don't, you can skip the language equal to attribute altogether. By default also it will understand, by default is also Java, and we do not have any other option also, right. So, anyway, maybe in some future there might be some other options for other languages available. So, we have seen import, we have seen language, fine. Recollect, we have some buffer being used for what is JSP? JSP is nothing but a buffer. We got our buffer, the size of the JSP buffer, fine. JSP is the JSP writer, fine. We use our out, and we had that implicit object called out, which is nothing but a JSP writer. What should be the buffer size of that JSP writer? The size of the buffer size of the JSP writer can be specified here by using an attribute called buffer size. Buffer size equal to, and you may specify some size, you can specify as 4K or something, when the default value anyway is 4K. So, it is 8K, default value is 8K. You could specify whatever you would like to use as the default size for JSP writer. The buffer size for JSP writer can be specified by saying buffer size. So, buffer size another attribute, but remember always to use quotes, right? It has to be either single or double quote. The next attribute which we can use here is, we can specify auto flush as being true or false, right? It is a true or false, again quotes, fine, though it is a Boolean type, but still you have to specify in quotes, true or auto flush, default value is true, fine. By setting it to false, fine, we understand what is the meaning of auto flush true. Auto flush true would mean, auto flush, what is the meaning? If the buffer, fine, when the output is being generated, fine, fine, the output is being generated, the amount of output, if it exceeds this buffer size, if the buffer becomes full, it should automatically get flushed, fine. That is what auto flush is about, right? It should be flushed so that more things can then be filled. If you set the auto flush as false, the thing which is going to happen here is, as soon if the buffer is full, it will throw an exception. Auto flush false would have this behavior, would make the behavior as, yes, whenever the buffer become full, it should generate a exception, and that is the difference by saying auto flush true or false. Like we have auto flush, another attribute which you might like to have here is, you might, we talked about session objects, right? Whether we would like to participate in a session or not. So, we have session equal to true or false. Yes, if you say session equal to true, that is anyway the default, it is going to participate in a session. It is like saying the very first thing being saying, okay, I want to have a session object, I want to participate, start tracking that, fine. By default all JSP, fine, if you do not mention in the page directive anything about session, it is considered as session equal to true. Only when you say session equal to false, it would not participate in a session. We will not even have the implicit object called session available in such a page, okay. So, session attribute of page directive used for specifying whether we would like to participate in a session or not. Many times I had mentioned in the earlier module, we might be building a error page, right. We might be writing a page which is nothing but it is being used as an error page. It is the target of an error. Whenever an error occurs, let me forward to this particular JSP, but when forwarding to the JSP, there will be that exception object available. So, if we are developing a page which is being used as an error page, then we have an attribute called is error page, fine. Again, this also has two values possible, either it is true or false. So, is error page is another attribute for page directive, which is used for, which would be set to true only when we are developing a error page. By default, it is false. So, if you have a page directive, but you have not mentioned anything related to is error page is false. So, by default we do not have, by default it is false. So, normally we are not developing error pages, right. So, error pages would be, if you are developing error page, then you must use the is error page true. Another thing, yes, when we are writing a JSP page, there might be some exceptions occurring within that JSP. If an error occurs, if any exception occurs during the processing of the JSP page, oh, that's the time when it should go to the, that's the time when it should be going to the error page, fine. It should forward to some error page, it should start showing the error page. So, yes, if this is the JSP page, any error occurring in this JSP page, which is the error page where it should be directed. So, we have an attribute called error page equal to, and in quote you can specify the JSP, the which is nothing but the error page where it should get forwarded to. So, we have these attributes called error page also, fine. This can be used for going to a specific page. Another thing, very simple thing, which we had something in servlet. In servlet we had that thing called get servlet info, which was to be overridden to give some copyright and error copyright message and other, right. It was there to return a string like that. So, if you are interested in someone calling that information about your JSP page, you could put that as an attribute in @page in the page directive. You could say attribute is info equal to, and in quote you write that info, fine. So, we have attribute called info, fine, like the info attribute. Even another one, a very simple thing was content type. So, yes, you could say content type equal to and specify the content type. By default the content type will be text/HTML. So, if you do not specify content type, it is text HTML. Maybe sometimes someone is developing a WML page, fine, for mobile such thing, fine. It might be a different kind of a text which you are generating through a JSP. So, if it is a different kind of a text and not HTML, fine, you need to be mentioning by using content type, fine. So, attribute is fine. With similarly another attribute which is a slightly advanced level attribute, which would not normally be. For this, let me explain this. Let's understand one more aspect. We had seen about the lifecycle method in the earlier model. We had seen that yes, a JSP is not, it is a JSP which is generated, the translated JSP is something which has to be implementing the HTTP JSP page. But what exactly is being done by containers? For example, in case of Tomcat, what we have observed in Tomcat is the translated Java file which is being generated by Tomcat is nothing but it is a class which is extending, it is the container has a class of its own called HTTP JSP base, which is extending the class. We have that class called HTTP servlet, fine. Recollect, there was that class called HTTP servlet which had all the various implementations of all the methods of the servlet interface, fine, and additional all useful methods were there, fine. So, all those would be inherited, fine, plus it is an implementation of HTTP JSP page. HTTP JSP base class which is being used in Tomcat. I am talking specific to Tomcat just to understand the way the things are happening. All containers would similarly have some or the other such similar class. So, they normally have some base class being used, which is an implementation of HTTP JSP page being used as a base from where the translated Java file would be inheriting. So, we have our translated Java class, find the class being generated. Fine. For example, if I create something like hello.jsp, it might create a class called underscore hello.jsp. Fine. So, there might be these classes like underscore hello.jsp. They must have an implementation for HTTP JSP page, but when they implement this, they extend from this base class, fine, which in case of Tomcat, as I mentioned, is they have this class called HTTP JSP base. So, what this HTTP JSP base is in turn doing is it is having implementation of JSP init to invoke the init method. It would have the implementation of init method to invoke the JSP init. It would have the implementation of destroy method to invoke the JSP destroy method. It would have the implementation of service method to invoke the underscore JSP service. So, these methods which will have to be invoked, fine. These implementations are made available, default service implementation, init and destroy method implementations to invoke the lifecycle methods which are being mentioned as lifecycle for JSP. They are being implemented in this base, Fine. The other thing as far as underscore JSP service is concerned is the one which is being created by the translation. If you want to have some JSP init or JSP destroy method of your own, then those will have to go only as a declaration. So, we use declaration in a JSP page, we may use that declaration. In declaration we might use it for JSP init and JSP destroy. In implementation of JSP init, if you wanted some init and destroy, yes, we can put them as by declaration in the form of declaration. Underscore JSP service is something which is by translate. So, one thing what should never happen in a declaration is you should never have a declaration of underscore JSP. That would never come. Proceeding further, fine. So, we have a base class like this. So, whenever if you look at the translated code, it says, oh, I have this which extends from HTTP JSP base. Instead of HTTP JSP base, which we get in case of Tomcat, maybe as an advanced level, you as a programmer do not want to use this base class, but would like to have your own implementation of the base class, which should be used as the base. So, in such a case, a program you got your own, or maybe it may be specific to this project. In this project or in a particular project, you have your own requirement for all your JSPs, something additional being done, you have developed your own base class. If you have done that base class, you do not want that class to be, the translated class to be extending from the one from the container, but you would like to be the one which you have developed. So, in such a case, you can use this page attribute. In the page, there is an attribute called extends, where you specify the class from where the translated Java file would be extended. So, that is also possible. So, you can take control of that level also. Fine. So, these are some of the attributes, useful attributes for the page directive. Like the page directive, fine. So, in this, so the attributes in the page directive. Moving further, we got further attributes of a couple of more attributes for the page directive. There is an attribute called page encoding. This could especially be useful in case you are having, most of the time it's by default. The page encoding which is used by which is being used in our container is 88591 or Latin one rather. Fine, you can call it as Latin 1 or 88591. Fine, that is the default page encoding which is used in a JSP. So, if you would like to change that, and most of the time, yes, that would be a requirement if you are using maybe more specific, or my advice normally is to use UTF-8 here instead of using Latin 1, any such thing. But the idea here is you can specify the page encoding, the text encoding. Yes, this text which I have got in my JSP uses so and so text, so and so page encoding. So, page encoding is another attribute which we can use here to specify what encoding is to be done. Fine. Maybe later on when we look at internationalization, we will come across something like an example where we might be interested in using characters from the Gujarati character set or some other characters. So, we will like to follow Unicode, and there if you are using all kind of Unicode characters, it is best to use UTF-8 as the page encoding, which is not the default here. It is something which you must specify. Most of the time you should be specifying if your content has some such things, some such characters which are from native, using some native languages, you are using Unicode characters there. Fine, and page encoding normally should be UTF-8 in. Okay. Another attribute here is the is thread safe. Is thread safe, you have the value as true or false. Is thread safe, normally is thread safe would be is thread safe is true. Fine. You can make it false, so that yes, it takes up, this is an indication to the container that yes, it should be taking up JSP should be considered as not being thread safe. That means there are a use of objects which would require that yes, we are using, we may have some declarations which are some instance variables being shared, and therefore it is not safe to be used in multi-thread. So, multiple requests being processed on the same servlet, on the same JSP at the same time should not happen. And that is something which we can mention by saying is thread safe, which by default I think should not be there. So, we should normally not use it that way, right, because it would slow up the thing. So, this is related to the page directive. We have two more directives. There is this directive called the after the page directive, another directive is the include. We have this thing called @. So, if it is include directive, we will use it as less than %@ include. Fine. It has only one attribute which is file equal to the file which we would like to include. This is something similar to the hash include which we use in C language. Fine. There is a hash include in C language. What does it do? Oh, it includes, we write a whole file, if we are writing a file, right. So, it is like, in this file we would like some other files to be included, some part of the code is in some other file, it is not all the things in the same file. When we are developing a web application, we are developing some website maybe. So, in a website we have the headers, the footers being consistent all throughout. The header part, the footer part, those the code corresponding to the header part, the code corresponding to the footer, that kind of coding could be kept standard, so that yes, if you modify something, the changes should be, we do not have to change in each and every page and then make the changes. We have a single file which always has the same header, which always has the same footer. So, you could have them in separate files, and if that is being done in the main in each and every JSP, you could just say, okay, I would like to include that header JSP, or we do not use the extension as JSP for the partial files. Those are not full JSP files, right? It is just part of the JSP. So, those files normally we give some kind of extensions. It is up to you to decide the extension, but the conventions being followed are there are multiple conventions. So, some places they follow the convention of using the extension as .jspf for JSP fragment, or someone says INC, it is an include file. Fine. So, you could have your own extension whatever you like. Fine. JSPF is something which might be preferable here. Maybe you create a JSP, but in all the JSPs for your website, each and every JSP just says, okay, at the beginning it might say, here I would like to have the code for, so @include lesson %include, and then you will say, file equal to header.jspf, and same way towards the bottom you might put that, I would like to include footer.jspf. So, include could be used in that manner, fine. It is just nothing but similar to hash include. One thing, include is done before the translation, actual translation happens. So, it includes a file, the other JSP fragment, translate the whole JSP as if it is a whole, as a single, and then so that is a include direct. The other third direct, yes, we have been seeing that yes, if its JSPs normally is more about presentation, which we understand is being done by web page designers. Web page designers are more used to use of tags, they remember tags. Java programmers are used to Java coding, but these web page designers are used to tags, and the tags is something which they can easily play with. They understand that more easily, and therefore, there is an option. Java also, the JSP pages has provision for using tags. Yes, there are tags, but yes, we have provision of not only, there are some tags which are by default available in any JSP, plus there are options of a programmer creating a lot of tags which can then be used by a JSP, a web page designer who is writing a JSP page. A JSP page user can be using tags which have been developed by other programmers, and there are some standard libraries also. There are people distribute libraries for tags, fine. So, if you are using other tags, fine, in that case you will have to mention that I am using tag from some kind of a tag library, fine. So, if you are using a tag library, there will be another file which will be included, which is having extension of .tld, tag library descriptor, fine, which is again following an XML structure. Okay. So, if you have some such TLD file being used, because you are using tags here, you will have to, when writing a JSP, you will have to use the @taglib directive to specify what is the TLD file which is, and whenever you use a tag from that TLD, what is the prefix for the tag which you will be using there. So, we have this @taglib directive with two attributes. We will have an attribute called URI equal to, which is used for specifying the location of the TLD file, and prefix equal to specify the prefix for the tags. Whenever I use a tag from that TLD which is available through that TLD, what will be the prefix for the tag. So, we have yes, of course, as far as that prefix goes, we cannot use JSP or JSPX or Java X as the prefix value. So, prefix value cannot be any of these four, it can be any other thing, any other simple text, fine, but you can't have these four things being used as a prefix value, fine. So, we have these three directives which we can use in our JSP pins. So, as far as directives are concerned, yes, three directives: a page directive, we have seen the attributes of the page directive, then we have the include directive for including other files, page directive controls the way the translation happens, fine, and then we even have the taglib directive, which is for including if we are using tags from another library, fine, we have the @taglib. There are lot of standard tags which one can use in a JSP file. In the next module will be there are tags which there are various kinds of tags. We have tags which are related to Java Beans. Java Beans are nothing but very simple kind of objects. So, before going into further into the JSP part, we will have the next module to cover some introduction related to just Java Beans. What are Java Beans in general? We are not discussing only the kind of Java Beans which we can which we would like to use in JSP. We are using Java Beans in more general manner in our next module. Okay, so fine. Thank you.